Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, we are from Group 6. Our material is analyze and interpreting qualitative data. Me Jumrani Uling as the first speaker. My material is definition qualitative data. Well, definition qualitative data is defined as the data and a parameters and characteristics. Qualitative data can be observation and recorded. This data type is non-numeral in nature. This type of data is collected through method of observations. One-to-one interviews, conducting focus group, and similar methods. Qualitative data in statistics is also known as categorical data. Data can be arranged categorically based on the attributes and properties of a thing or a phenomenon. It is pretty easy to understand the difference between qualitative data and quantitative data. Quantitative data doesn't include numbers in its definition of traits, whereas qualitative data is all about number. For example, qualitative data is 1. The cake is orange, blue, and black in color. 2. Females have brown, black, blonde, and red hair. Next, qualitative data is about the emotions or perception of people, what they feel. Qualitative data is used to answer questions like how many, how often, how much. This data can be validated and verified. Example for qualitative data is for 1. There are 4 cakes and 3 muffins kept in the basket. 2. 1 glass of fizzy drink has 53 calories. Yes, 53 calories. Next, the importance of qualitative data is in determining the particular frequency it fits or characteristics. It allows the statistician or the researchers to form parameters through which larger data set can be observed. Qualitative data provide the means by which observers and quantify the world around them. For a market researcher, collecting qualitative data helps in answer questions like who their customers are, what issues or problems they are raising, and where do they need to focus their attention so problem or issues are resolved. Qualitative data collection methods. Types of qualitative data. Qualitative data collection is exploratory. It involves in-depth analysis and research. Qualitative data collection methods are mainly focused on gaining insights or reasoning and motivations. Hence, they go deeper in the term of research. Since the qualitative data cannot be measured, researchers prefer method or data collection tools that are structured to a limited extent. Next, here are the qualitative data collection methods. For the first, one-to-one interviews. The third, the second, focus group. The third, record keeping. For the fourth, process observation. For the fifth, longitudinal studies, and the last, case studies. So,
I'm Yulita Parangan as the second speaker, and I will explain about definition of analyze and interpreting. The first part I'm going to explain is one by one sense of analyze and interpreting. So, analyze. Data analyze is a method in which data is collected and organized so that one can derive helpful information from it. And then interpreting. Interpretation is the process of reviewing data through some predefined process which will help assign some meaning to the data and arrive at a relevant conclusion. It involves taking the result of data analysis, making inference on the relation study and using from the conclude. Okay. Apa itu data analis? Data analisis atau analisis data adalah metode di mana data dikumpulkan dan disusun sehingga seseorang dapat memperoleh informasi yang berguna dari data tersebut. Kemudian, apa itu interpreting? Interpretasi adalah proses peninjauan data melalui beberapa proses yang telah ditentukan dan akan membantu mendapatkan beberapa makna pada data sampai pada data kesimpulan yang relevan. Hal ini mencakup mengambil hasil analisis data, membuat kesimpulan tentang hubungan yang dipelajari, dan menggunakan untuk menyimpulkannya. Okay. The second part is definition of analyze and interpreting in all. Okay. The process by which sense and meaning are made of the data gathered in qualitative research, and by which the emergent knowledge is applied to the client's problems. This data often takes the form of record of group discussions and interviews, but is not limited to this. Through process of revising and immersions in the data, and through complex activities of structure, reforming, or interwise exploring it, the research looks for patterns and insights relevant to the key research issue and use this to address the client's brief. Okay, definisi dari analisis dan interpreting secara keseluruhan yaitu merupakan proses yang dimiliki akal dan makna, terbuat dari data yang dikumpulkan dalam penelitian kualitatif, di mana pengetahuan yang muncul diterapkan pada masalah klien. Data ini sering mengambil bentuk catatan diskusi dan wawancara kelompok, namun tidak terbatas pada proses ini, di mana peneliti mencari pola dan wawasan yang lebih relevan dengan masalah penelitian utama untuk menangani masalah klien. Kemudian yang terakhir, the last one, the purpose of analysis and interpretation. Analysis help the readers understand the data by describing general trends in the data and pointing out inference and similarities among data points. And purpose of interpretation is relates data to the objective they are supposed to measure, explore the relationship between multiple measures of educational object, qualifies, amplifies, draws inference, and evaluates. Okay, I think enough for me, and I have said wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nur Viva. In this occasion, I'd like to explain the material. Continue our material. It's qualitative data, analyze and interpretation. Now let's take a look. The key ideas for this material for the first is there are some ways we must do to analyze and interpretation. The first is prepare and organize the data. Yang pertama itu, jadi kita harus mempersiapkan dan mengatur data untuk dianalisis. And the second is explore and code the data. Kita harus memeriksa dan kode the data, describe and develop the themes from the data. Yang ketiga itu, kita harus menjelaskan dan mengembangkan tema dari data. And then represent and report the finding. Kita harus data itu harus mewakili dan terus melaporkan penelitian kita. And then interpret the finding. Jadi kita itu harus menginterpretasikan temuan kita atau penelitian kita. And the last is validate the accuracy and credibility of the findings. So in this occasion, I would like to explain each step. Take a look. First, prepare and organize the data. There are some ways we must do in this step. The first is we must develop the metrics or tabled result that can be used to organize the material. It means we must mengembangkan matriks atau tabel yang dapat digunakan untuk tabel sumber yang dapat digunakan untuk mengatur materi kita. And then organize material by type. Jadi kita harus mengatur materi berdasarkan jenisnya. Keep duplicate copy of materials. Tetap menjaga atau simpan duplikat materi. And then transcribe the data. Transkripsikan data. And the last is prepare data for hand at a computer. It means we must menyediakan data secara manual atau komputer untuk dianalisis. And the second is explore data. We must obtain a general sense of the data by performing preliminary exploratory analysis. It means kita harus mendapatkan pemahaman umum tentang data dengan menganalisis eksplorasi awalnya. And then memo idea, it means ide memo, and the third is think about organization of the data, atau pikirkan tentang organisasi datanya, and then the last is consider whether more data are needed. After the think about the organized data, jadi kita harus mempertimbangkan apakah apakah kita membutuhkan data lebih banyak. And the next material is this is how we must coding the process in qualitative research. Jadi pertama itu kita harus membaca datanya, kemudian membagi teks ke dalam segmen informasinya, kemudian memberikan label segment of information with code, and then reduce overlap and reduction of code. Kita mengurangi kode yang berlebihan, yang artinya ini hal-hal yang penting saja. And the last it collapse code into the timer. The next is describe settings and develop the timer. We must the first is address the major resource questions, procedures. In procedures there are some explain like code or image data. Develop a description from the data, define the timer from the data, connect and interpret the timer. And then after then we must report and represent finding. In this step there are two steps. For the first is constructing narrative or membangun teks naratif. And first, we must identify dialog that supports timer, atau mengidentifikasi dialog yang mendukung tema, and then look for dialog in the participant's native language, atau mencari dialog dalam bahasa yang asli pada peserta. Use metaphor or analogy. Kita menggunakan metafora atau analogi. And then collect quotes, mengumpulkan kutipan. Identify vivid data that describe an individual, events, or activity. Terus mengidentifikasi data yang jelas menggambarkan individu, peristiwa, atau aktivitas. And then identify the tension and contradiction in individual experience. It means mengidentifikasi ketegangan dan kontraksi dalam pengalaman individu. And the second step is providing visual data display. It means kita menyediakan data visual untuk tampilan. There are some steps. First is create a visual image of the information in a comparison table. Kita harus membuat gambar visual dari informasi dalam tabel perbandingan. And then the physical layout of the setting, menggambarkan tata letak fisik setelahnya. And then describe this personal or demographic information for each person or site, atau menjelaskan informasi pribadi atau demografis untuk setiap orang atau situs. And then next step is interpret finding. It means interpretation is not natural. Interpretasi ini tidak netral. Personal reflect about the meaning of the data, and then merefleksikan dan kontrak sudut pandang pribadi dengan literatur, mencerminkan atau di mana interpretasi ini mencerminkan tentang literatur. and then compare the contour's personal viewpoints with the literature. Yeah, and then address limitation of the study. And the last is make a suggestion for the future research. It's mean we must memberikan saran untuk penelitian selanjutnya. And then the last step is the validating the accuracy of the findings. There are some steps we must do. First is member checking. It's mean member check the accuracy of the account atau pemeriksaan anggota, di mana anggota memeriksa keakuratan akun. And then triangulation using corroborating evidence. Triangulation menggunakan bukti yang menguatkan. External, it means hiring the service of the individual outside the study to review the study. It's mean eksternal itu memperkerjakan layanan individu di luar studi untuk meninjau studi. And I think enough for me, and this is our material by group 6. Thank you very much and forgive our mistake. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.